Welcome back to Old Moon Radio. This is Chris Branco here with Ian Mills. Today we're covering a live from Whispering Pines. I believe, Ian, this was episode 424 of the program. In real
Yeah.
life, episode 2. Yeah, anything to say before we get into the episode?
No, so maybe just recap for the listeners what Alive from the Whispering Pines series is. I did have a question before I got in. So this is episode two of at least like four, right? How many of this did they do?
Yeah, it's 2 of 4. And actually, in our
Mm.
last podcast, when we covered episode 423, which was the first episode, I mentioned that this was a weekly drop. I actually believe this was monthly. I think I got that
Okay.
wrong.
One more question. When did they release this? Do you remember like what time of the year?
Winter.
When okay, because
Yeah.
we'll get to it, but that's mentioned. Yeah, I liked it. It was more off of one album this time, I think is probably my highest level take. Where I feel
Mm,
like the first episode, it was sort of, they touched kind of every album, like, especially some of their, um, I don't remember if they were just EPs or like earlier albums than when I started listening to them. This was songs primarily off Strange Trails, which is my favorite Lord Huron album, so I was happy with it. Um, but yeah, I felt like I got a little bit more of the game this time. I felt like I knew maybe a little bit more what was going on.
yeah, that makes sense having it been the second episode. But last episode, they did hit heavy on Lonesome Dreams. So maybe they are taking this kind of as an approach of like album by album. So we'll see if the next one they focus more on maybe V Noir. And that's interesting. That's going based off the release order of their albums. So I think we're onto something, Ian.
Yeah,
All right, awesome. So this episode starts with Tubbs Tarbell, our host, coming in from the blizzard with a rifle or a shotgun, snow-covered hat. He pours himself some whiskey, checks his voicemail. He has 2,039 messages. Uh, we get our theme intro, and I think the first voicemail was for Louisa. And Ian, I have the funnest fact of the night about this song.
all right. We're starting off hot.
This was my sister and brother-in-law's first dance song at their wedding, and their anniversary is today.
That's
So,
pretty cool. That's why we timed the episode for today.
exactly, a really cool coincidence on Louisa there. But I love this song. It makes me think of them, but it's also just a great song in general. And this version, I'm not sure if you had similar notes, was pretty tropical. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, so I didn't really think about that until after
Right.
kind of like the after card. It wasn't really a skit, but like it was sort of like a transition kind of thing with Tubbs.
Hmm.
Um Yeah, like it felt kind of interesting because like we start out, it's winter at WBUB, this radio station, Whispering Pines.
Hmm.
Um, but it starts out kind of tropical, so it felt kind of like a little like a pretty abrupt tonal shift. Um,
Sure.
and I didn't pick up on this till probably embarrassing too late, but I picked up that like these calls are like actual calls, right?
Right, which reminded me that, oh, this was a monthly release and not the weekly release.
Yeah, so I didn't pick up on that till the very end, and we'll get more into it on
Hmm.
later songs. But like, I thought they were just sort of like it was like still the skit for the radio station. They were kind of like making up these calls. I didn't pick up till later in this that these were like actual calls from fans that they were
Right.
queuing up for songs.
There were a few that may have been plants. Like we'll pick up, I will mention one that was very clearly
Okay,
intentionally
yeah,
placed.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so we get the next song. Jenny from Texas requests Wait by the River because, quote, she listens to them at 3 a.m. and the emotions she feels are indescribable, which is a good way to describe Lord Huron in general. But this song too, this was a very intentional version of Wait by the River. It was he was wearing like a tux or a suit and quiet sweeping brushes instead of drums. It was just a sweeping sound. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, so this was probably the most direct like transition for songs I thought. So in Louisa, the lyrics are, "I feel your lips on mine. Would you meet me by the river, baby, one more time?"
Mm.
And "Wait for you" starts immediately. "I will wait by the river." So it felt like I don't yeah, because these are off. I didn't look up which album "Wait for
Wait by the
You."
River is Vie Noire.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, so two different albums, but like these songs kind of like naturally lead into another. I thought was pretty cool, and like "I will wait by the river" repeats over and over on the verse, kind of like a mantra. So I thought this was like a pretty cool song pairing.
Yeah, you say it was apparent. I didn't pick up on it that Louisa has what was the lyric again? I'll meet you by the
Uh,
river, baby, one more time.
yeah, yeah.
My refrigerator is making ice, so hopefully that's not picking up too loud on the mic. But yeah, I didn't pick up that those songs were connected in that way. So that's pretty awesome. Really cool insight there. We get Thad, I believe was the name from New Orleans, calls to ask Tubbs what type of whiskey he's drinking. It's the in-universe boot heel whiskey. And then Dan from Chattanooga calls to ask if there's any other universes out there. And that was the first call that I was like, this one feels like a plant. Um, but there was another one later that was intentionally a plant. And then finally, we get a request for Ancient Names Part 1. This is a two-part song from 2018's V Noir. It's kind of the heart of that album. And before I turn it over to you, I just want to point out the lyrics. Cosmic ash and blackened brain, I'll call you by your ancient name. That references getting black-brained, which is what happens in the Lord Huron universe when someone has too much of V Noir, the drug. That's what I understand from watching the movie. It's like a psychedelic trip that kills you, but also sends you to a different timeline. I'm probably way off, but pretty neat.
Okay, so this is sort of leading into Tubbs talking about how like there's an infinite number of parallel universes and
Which is why I
um
thought the call was a
yeah.
plant. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. It was like definitely darker visuals with the space overlay.
Hmm.
Um, it reminded me kind of like the intro to the Grateful Dead movie with like the space pinball machine, because we can't go an episode without mentioning Grateful Dead. But I don't know, that was like sort of my first thing. I was kind of paying attention on this whole video, this episode of like the band setups, because it changed pretty much song to song. Where on Louisa, it was one acoustic, one electric guitar. I thought that's like probably with the slide guitar at the end was like probably like so
Hmm.
that just sounds like Lord Huron. Like I don't really know how much to describe it past that. Um, and then on this one, it's like very percussion heavy, with Ancient Names having both two acoustic guitars and bongos and percussion. I thought the interest in sort of like of setup was pretty interesting.
Yeah. And you mentioned bongos. That's what that is. I was wondering how to describe the percussion.
How are you going to describe bongos without remembering the word bongos? What were you going to say? Just
Soft. I may have
Just
gone back to
two tiny
tropical,
drums,
two tiny
two
drums.
small tropical drums.
Yeah, yeah, perfect. Um, it's also funny because they were wearing sunglasses in this song, and the only reason that's funny is because it's kind of them not taking themselves too seriously. Again, wearing these like cheap plastic shades, referencing what Tubbs was saying just previously before the song about different timelines and one where he's wearing sunglasses. So, again, kind of them like taking a step back from like the cinematic, taking itself too seriously and just kind of doing something silly, which was fun to see the band let loose in that way. Then we get Adam from Cincinnati requesting "I Will Be Back One Day." This leans back to the more Louisa style setup of the band. It's all acoustic though, and we even get a mandolin, I believe, from Miguel Briseño. This is an underrated track. It definitely sounds like the album version in this version, so it's very similar to the album version, but I think it's an underrated track and a great song.
Yeah, I was gonna mention the mandolin, like a really cool bowlback mandolin.
Mhm.
I think both acoustic on this song. I know one was doing like a slide acoustic thing,
Yeah.
that I thought was pretty cool. The oldest song on this episode, I think, for Lonesome Dreams. I think everything was after that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I didn't
Um,
even pick up on that.
and uh, Yeah, like this talking about calls being plants, like this one might have been a plant too, with the call say like, "Oh, this song reminds me of my boyhood in Upper Michigan." Um, so I don't know. I mean, like it was kind of known at this point, so I'm sure there's plenty of Upper Michigan fans of Lord Huron that is like a close to home thing for them.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how many of the songs they like had recorded beforehand, and then when they got the voicemail, they were like, "All right, nice, we'll place this song, this recording after that voicemail." There's probably a lot of that, at
Yeah.
least. Tub gets asked what his favorite song is from Handsome Scott, which I thought to be maybe some sort of Elvis figure in the Lord Huron universe. Couldn't really get a great read on that. And then we get requests for World Ender. The studio gets a little haunted, lights are flickering. There's a great extended intro. And this is like a ghost revenge ballad. And I actually think of you when I think of this song. Am I right to
What do
say
you
that you
think?
love this song?
Yeah, this is my favorite Lord Huron song.
Okay,
We've probably talked about it before.
right.
Um, but yeah, so I thought it was interesting how you said the previous song, "I Will Be Back in One Day," was like pretty close to the studio cut. That
Hmm.
I think I don't know for every single song of this episode, but for a lot they seem to be like pretty different than what the studio recording is.
Yeah.
And at least the recording that comes to mind for World Ender for me, like this is definitely like very different from that. There's like a live, like I don't know if it's KEXP, but there's like a live in studio version that I listen to a lot that I think is like the version of World Ender. So it might
Mm-mm.
not be the studio version, but anyways, like kind of coming out of the Handsome Scott thing, like and it'll roll into even more after this. Like it was kind of like Western vibes to start with, like the drums and the guitar. Was like very different than how they start Rolled Ender, at least in my mind. Um, and the guitar, like going into the song, was a little brighter. I thought it was really cool that the bass and the guitar were both like these matching Fender Coronados. Um,
Mm.
and I have one more thing, but I want to see if you picked up on it too for this song. So anything I missed so far?
Ooh, I don't know. I don't think I picked up on it.
So they do you have anything else for this song?
Just checking my notes. I don't think I do. So I'm really curious to hear what you have to say.
So the piano on this song, I just might be playing too many connections and seeing patterns where things don't exist. Um, like there is like a monster playing piano in the song, playing the keys.
Oh, yes, I caught that real briefly, and I was debating writing it down, and I was like, oh, I probably just like imagined that.
No, I mean that's very clear. But the other thing is like the reason why I like went back and looked was because at the end of the song they're kind of ending, and in the back like kind of like out of focus is like this like creature on keys, and maybe you can show a picture in the edit of what it looked like. I'm like, is that like that's not one of the guys? Like I think they put that in there as like because at the beginning of the song Tubbs is like, oh, like you want to be careful, like you don't want to summon something like that you
Mm,
don't intend to. And I think part of the song was like the world ender was on keys. I don't know. I might be reading too much into it, but I'll show you what I mean after the episode. You know, let's see what you think.
yeah, I mean, I remember seeing it. I was just in the middle of taking notes, so I was writing stuff. I looked up, I saw the monster, and then I looked back down, and then I looked back up, and it was gone. And I was like, was that just me? So yeah, definitely show me what you're referencing, but I think I remember it in the episode. We get the full-on music video for Mine Forever. This is like a surf rock, western, psychedelic Lord Huron song that came off Long Lost. So I'm guessing this was the premiere of the music video when this episode aired live.
Yeah, so I might be wrong, but I they so to start out like I think Tubbs gets asked like what's your favorite Roy Casey song?
Right.
And he's
Yeah.
like, oh
Something with.
yeah, like this is like an oldie but goodie, and then they play this. He
Mhm.
has like, oh, like I have this like old gold film, and like we can watch this film, and then the music video plays. And it starts with, I believe, "The Moon Doesn't Mind," "Going
Right.
Into Mine Forever," which is like the two kind of paired songs that started Long Lost. Um, so this would have been the debut. I don't think they'd released the song yet, going
Mm-mm.
back to 2021. So I thought that was really cool. The old film was like has like the blurred faces that we talked about last episode too. That is like the cover art for Long Lost and all the singles that came off of it.
Hmm.
The film, now I'm assuming was just the music video. I haven't actually seen the music video outside of this. Was like kind of like a little bit of like a this is like one of the first music videos I remember watching is like the Danny California music video from Red Hot Chili Peppers, where they sort of play the song going through like the eras of rock. They start out with, like black and white, like Beatles, and they go through like current. And like there's some references I thought were pretty similar. Like they had like definitely like a Beatles reference where they're playing the song in like the suits and black and white with like the white
Yeah.
stage background. I think I saw like an Elvis reference, like sort of more like a rockabilly get up, and then a bunch of like old cartoons and sort of kind of just like vintage sort of references throughout the music video. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. It's the first time I'd seen that. After the music video, there's like a woman speaking in French. I didn't know if you looked into that at all because I didn't.
Nah.
I just read it. I thought it was interesting because like so the after the first song where there was like sort of the transition card of Tubbs at the beach, the where he's at is greetings from I can't do a French or a French accent, but it's like Louis Cosmique, which is
Yeah.
French for I'm assuming like little cosmic or something. So I thought it was interesting that it was French for presumably French for both scenarios, although I don't know what it means.
That was all running through my head too. I just didn't write it down. But yeah, I put that together, that connection too, and I was like, I don't know what this means, and I didn't know where to get the info. I guess maybe it's on their wiki, but so I just kind of glossed over it. But yeah, that's a really good point. We get a plant voicemail from Lord Huron's past. This is one I was referencing earlier from Tubbs' past, not Lord Huron's. It's he goes down the stairs to an altar dedicated to a singer, Francine Lou, which is Frankie Lou in the Lord Huron universe. She, I believe, got blackbrained in the Lord Huron movie, referenced to ancient names earlier. So that's who she was.
Yeah, I didn't know who she was. I figured you would. So coming out of the previous song, Tubbs is listening to all the the 2000 voicemails where it's like, oh, like love the show, like great work, like love to tune in. He's like sort of in a trance, and then he gets this one from a
Right.
woman saying, play me something I can feel, play me something sad, and then he goes down to the basement with the shrine. And then he knows that the picture of the shrine of Francine is like has broken, and when he puts it back up, her face is blurred again, kind of hinting at well, we keep bringing up the album art for Long Lost.
Right.
And then the caller, uh, they introduce the next song with a caller's requesting "Love Like Ghosts," saying it makes me feel things, kind of the same way as the previous the woman calling.
Right. And Love Like Ghosts is credited to Frankie Lou in the Lord Huron wiki. So it's like that character, one of that character's
Okay,
songs
yeah.
in their folklore. So it all ties together. Really cool. This was like a sweet, slow sway to this song, kind of like a quick rocking chair. It's there was also a cool solo from Ben towards the end. Not very like technically like challenging, but like very tone and mood infused solo, which I thought was pretty cool. What'd you think of this version of Love Like Ghosts?
Yeah, so this was one of the other ones that was very different from the studio cut.
Yes, very
Um,
different.
Pretty weird intro, coming out of the skit before, like very percussion heavy. I thought
Yep.
the visuals were really cool. So at the skit, like he goes down in the basement's like red walls, red floor, and then the visuals for the song are all red, kind of similar. Um, like the slide guitar, kind of like on all these songs, I think,
Hmm.
off this episode. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool.
Do you prefer the studio version of Love Like Ghosts or this version? Because
Studio. I
same.
think like the studio version of Love Like Ghost is like one of the most iconic songs, I think, from Lord Huron.
I'm
I think most
absolutely
people would agree. Like it is very much just like what they are as a band, like distilled into one song.
I absolutely agree with you. I just wasn't sure because in the past I've said that some of the Whispering Pines versions may rival the album versions, but in this case in particular, Love Like Ghost is such a powerful song in their studio version. It's hard to top that. So it's kind of cool that they decided to take a different approach anyways and play around with it. We go into the last song of the night, but before we do so, we get a very long introduction from WBUB Space Mail, and I think this is the coolest like introduction of a song so far that we've seen in this series because we get I don't know maybe 10 voicemails of people requesting Love Like Ghosts. I mean, sorry, Frozen Pines, referencing people that they've lost, people that they're remembering. It was like really emotional, and I felt it while watching this. Like I thought this was an excellent introduction to the song before we even get into the song.
Yeah, this is where I figured out that these calls might be real.
Right.
Like halfway through this, I was like, "Oh, these aren't just planted calls." Yeah, but it is really cool. Like it's cool that like it worked. So like they got these calls, assuming they are real. Like maybe we're just completely wrong, but like it's really cool that they were able to put a lot of like these genuine messages, requesting a song and then play it. Like it is really cool. I
Yeah.
thought it was like a great end to this episode. Um, Yeah, so Frozen Pines off of Strange Trails
Right.
again. Um, I was curious, like, is this why? Like, it's like they kind of chose it to end because that's sort of like it's like WBUB in the middle of the forest in winter. It's like snowing, like Frozen Pines is
I think
like
so.
very
I
yeah.
Yeah, kind of the beginning of the episode was teasing the end as he's coming in from the actual Frozen Pines. Dang, that's so cool. Like the amount of thought that went into this, or at least I think went into it, is just so impressive. It's just so creative. I love when things pay off like that.
Yeah, and I thought it was really cool how they kind of combined a lot of the visuals from the previous song. So they used like the space visuals um, from Ancient Names. They had like sort of like the same red lighting, like partial red now as Love Like Ghosts. Probably some other things that I miss as well. So sort of like a accumulation of like all the previous songs in the episode.
Yeah, that's a cool point. Frozen Pines. I saw Lord Huron where I got this hat this summer at Meriwether Post Pavilion in Maryland, and it was in July or so. They crushed Frozen Pines. That was like the best song of their tour, I think, live, from my opinion. And it had kind of like an indie rock ending with them just like strumming the guitar, like head banging against the wall type feeling. So it was really different than this rendition of Frozen Pines. But now I'm just thinking it's just an excellent song, and that no matter what rendition they do of it, it's gonna be good because it's just that good of a song.
Yeah, I agree.
Nice. Tubb signs off with his signature "May you live until you die" phrase. Ian, how did you like this episode compared to the first one?
I think I definitely liked it more, and not just because it was mainly Strange Trails songs. I think it picked up a bit of steam that like it felt like we're going to something with the next couple episodes. Like obviously we know what it is now, but I thought it was like I also just like felt like a little bit more comfortable. Like I kind of got the game from the previous episode, so I was able to pay attention more.
Right. I also agree. I think it's a step up. I think the interaction with the fans adds to it because you're getting that community feel between Lord Huron and their fans, which is cool to see. Are you getting back into the Lord Huron groove a little bit? Because you were big into Strange Trails. You probably weren't as big into their more recent albums, just knowing our conversations. Have you gotten back into the groove a little bit?
No, I am though, and I was into Long Lost when it first
Right.
came out. I haven't been away for long, but yeah, it's on my list once I have a little bit more free time. I think I'm gonna dive back in
Nice. And then the last question. I believe Spotify Wrapped comes out tomorrow. So I wanted to ask,
tomorrow.
yeah, I believe so. Today is Tuesday that we're recording. So I believe it comes out Wednesday, December 3rd. So if you're listening to this episode on Friday or later, it's already out. But Ian, who do you think, and we'll check back next episode, who do you think your number one artist will be this year from Spotify Wrapped?
Jerry Garcia band. I like
Ooh,
almost have zero doubt.
that's awesome. Any guess for your top song?
Ooh, we need to do a Kingfisher episode. When you first sent me Killa
Hmm.
by Kingfisher, I think I listened to it like 50 times in a row straight. So I think that just got pushed up to number one.
That's because you're an Irish citizen now.
Yeah.
I think my top artist will actually either be Lord Huron because their new album came out this year, Cosmic Selector Volume 1, or John Craigie because we saw him this year and I was listening to a lot of Craigie, who I want to do an episode on at some point. So yeah, I think those will be potentially mine. But let's check back next week and see if we were right on our suspicions. Anything else to say before we check out for this week?
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this and tune in for the rest of the Alive from Whispering Pines episodes.
All right, take care.